Hey guys, welcome back to Vertical Momentum. I'm your host, Richard Kaufman, also known as the Comeback Coach. Guys, you're going to make sure you're going to want to save this episode and you're going to want to listen to it again. So make sure you subscribe. This episode is going to be a game changer for some of you guys. The gentleman, we became friends just recently, and I'm so grateful for him. He's CEO, serial entrepreneur. His brain's got to be that big compared to mine, which is about that big. And we're going to be talking about how to protect yourself against inflation. That's something we're going to talk about. So, Nick, welcome to the show, brother. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. It's an honor, privilege to have the opportunity to be here. Thank you so much.
Brother, I'm so grateful and I'm so humble to be able to chat with you today. And I love everything you're doing. But, people could see, the Nick that's successful, the CEO, but they don't see the shit that you went through, especially at the young age of 13, 14. So I want to go back there because I think more people need to learn more about people's failures than their successes, because it makes the success so much more important. So talk to us a little bit about you, where you came from, where'd you grow up, and how'd you become the man that you are today?
Sure. I don't typically kind of wear this stuff on my sleeve, but I appreciate you diving into it. The fact is that only people who've experienced great spiritual pain have spiritual gifts, and people who have not really gone through adversity, they don't know strength. That's just how we were made. That's how the human mind works. Whatever your spiritual beliefs are, that's the fact of the matter that you can't really deny. So I've certainly seen my fair share of adversity. As a young man, I grew up. I never met my father. Kind of my mom did the best she could, but was disabled. Had a brain injury when I was 7 years old, and I was kind of on my own. Not quite homeless, but somewhere on that spectrum of homeless. Never quite sure where I might be staying. The next night. That's actually where my very first real estate deal came along. Was there's this family that had a basement that was just kind of full of garbage and stuff. And I said, hey, if I clean it out and renovate your basement, could I just live there? And so I lived there for a couple of years while I was in high school. But from the youngest of age, I really had to take care of myself, take care of my mom. And I think that very much made me the man that I am today. I've been so blessed. My company has over $1/3 billion in assets under management. But there isn't a day that goes by that I don't just live in supreme gratitude that, I've got a roof over my head, and not only that, but I can provide a roof over someone else's head for so many other people. And that background of adversity, it makes it like, when you're negotiating a multi-million-dollar real estate deal, like you could just lose $1 million in a day. Like when there's those kind of numbers in the balance, that just happens. It's not tough to manage those swings when you have seen real problems. You realize that having $1 million problem, that's a gift. You are so lucky to have that kind of problem. Other people who haven't had those spiritual challenges, that spiritual pain, that don't have those spiritual gifts, those people who haven't had that adversity, so they don't have that strength, they lose their mind. People commit suicide over a large financial loss. Like those people, they've failed to see the fortune they have to have those types of problems.
All right, so let me ask you a question, because everybody knows my story. I became a drug addict, alcoholic, age of 13, but because I grew up in an abusive household. But my one solace was books. I became a reader. I became an avid reader, which I still am today. I think I got 15 books going as we speak. But that was the one thing that I think kind of kept me sane. So when you were at that age, what was your go-to?
Maybe it's a coincidence, but books. I was actually just at the library yesterday with my kids, dropping off a whole bunch of books. We didn't read as many of them as I would have liked, but my wife, she also is a very avid reader. Also grew up in a very similar environment to myself, an environment with significant adversity. Her parents, choked up a little bit thinking about this. For her birthday about 8 years ago, they framed her library cards from when she was a kid, because that was a place she could go to that was always peaceful and quiet and could read. In my case, it was a place that was warm and clean and again could read. and it was just everything you need was just at your fingertips. I was born in 1983. I'm about to turn 40 here, so I'm just old enough to kind of know the world before the internet. And I always found it very humbling to walk into a library and just think like the knowledge of the world is right here in this building. And today we probably take it for granted because it's even more accessible. But yeah, that was certainly a place of solace for me as well.
All right. So then, coming from where you come from, coming from where we come from, we're not. If you were to look at us back when we were 13 or 14, we weren't supposed to win. We were
That's
not
right.
supposed to be where we are today. So, what made you? What was high school like? And what was you? Did you think of where you started to think of what your life was going to be like, or were you just trying to make it through each day?
I certainly I thank God for all the adversity I had as a young child, but I also thank God for a lot of really good people that were put in my life. A lot of good, human beings. They're just fundamentally good people, and you can see the bad in people, and you can see all the terrible things out there, especially if you tune into the news. But I promise you, if you tune into the good that's out there, there is so much more good than bad. And my whole life, I never wanted for someone out there who was rooting for me, who was trying to encourage me, guide me, mentor me, push me, and so it was just always an expectation that was projected to me that I was going to go to college. I got a bachelor's degree in ministry and a bachelor's degree in computer science. And I changed geographies in a very radical way when I went from high school to college. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that really kind of changed my trajectory is and that's a blueprint that I've seen over and over again. The most successful people are people that they went through very significant adversity, but they just had people that were in their corner, people that loved them, that supported them, that cared about them, that believed in them. And that's all anybody needs. They just need one person that believes in them, that knows they can do it, that knows they can be more, do more, give more, share more, and just the human spirit with that support. I think is capable of anything. So that would be the number one thing that I would credit. And then over time, when I was young, I think people, I was just in a challenging spot, and so people kind of sought me out and tried aggressively to help me. And then as I've gotten older, it's unfortunate, but people, if you go survey, a man in his 40s, I would say the typical man has between 1 and 3 other men in his life that he can call. If he just needs someone to talk to, needs help, we become, I don't know, isolated, and we think that maybe we're weird that we don't have more friends, more people, more men in our life that we can rely on. And so I'd say I've really deliberately honed that skill of seeking out other men I can rely on through church. I'm a member of multiple kind of high level masterminds that are geared towards my industry, but there's masterminds and groups out there for everyone. If you're more of a man of science than a man of faith, oxytocin, the bonding hormone, it is the antidote to addiction, to fear. When you are feeling totally connected to someone else, you don't have that same need for that dopamine hit wherever you're getting that from, and you feel empowered to do great things, but only when you feel close to other people. And it doesn't have to be your spouse or your kids. It can be other men. I was at a mastermind last week, and it's a high accountability group, and very lives in this reality that I'm talking about. So one of the exercises we went through is you are required to write down like the top 5 or 10 men you're closest to in your life. You need to send them a text message right now that just says, hey man, I was just thinking about you. You mean so much to me. I love you. And that last part's important. I think sometimes people feel uncomfortable with these kinds of feelings or whatever. And if you don't get comfortable with these feelings, like you're not going to get that oxytocin, you're not going to get that spiritual connection with someone. You have to have that, I think, in order to have the strength, the resilience to overcome whatever adversity life is throwing at you. You can't do it alone.
And Nick, as you see, I'm writing stuff down. The only reason I'm writing stuff down, I do have a traumatic brain injury. So if I don't write something down, I'll never remember it. So when you're saying something, I'm writing it down. So I definitely want to talk about it later. But I'm picturing you as a 19-year-old kid walking through college, one class talking about, science, the next class talking about God. And
Mhm.
usually they kind of count, they don't exactly mesh well. One usually talks about the other one. So what was that dichotomy like in your life? Going to one class and it's science, the other class is ministry. It had to be interesting.
Absolutely. So I went to I had the privilege to go to a great school, Oklahoma Christian University. I went to church at a, kind of like a mission church that was planted by another larger church in a different state. In Oklahoma, I grew up in Rochester, Minnesota, and so there was just this kind of ready, I don't know, pathway or whatever for me to attend that university. As a very good university with a really strong engineering program, really strong, computer science, technology, math program, and then a really strong ministry program. And it was a very, very applied. So technically, my degree is vocational ministry, and what that means is we're not training you to go out and be like a pulpit minister. We're not going to spend a lot of time doing theological exegesis work. Like, we're going to figure out how to serve people. Like, it's a crazy concept, right? So it really, when it comes down to people, there is no conflict whatsoever. It's only when we kind of trump up these human ideas about things that there's a conflict. So like the class I took was not a class on like defending the continuity of scripture. It was counseling for ministers, and in this class every single day is a role play. Here's a person that's struggling with they're thinking about getting a divorce, or they're in conflict with one of their children, and they're depressed about it. And I'm not an LPC, I'm not a licensed counselor or anything like that, but public speaking, we need to go out and we need to give a message today that inspires people, that makes people want to love and connect. The best way to build rapport, the best way to connect with other people is teaching and public speaking. None of this is rocket science. And it's crazy to me that you have to like get a degree in like a ministry profession to get this sort of basket of skills. I don't I don't formally serve in my church in any way, shape, or form. Which is the point of that vocational ministry degree, by the way. Is the idea is it's like a second major with another career track. The idea is you have all the skills that you need to just serve people. And when you get caught up into evolution says this or the Bible says this or whatever, like you're already missing the point. Like, the point is just to love people, to serve people, to connect with people, to care about people. If you read any holy text in any faith, that's what they all say. The stuff that we agree on is like 99% of it, and the stuff we disagree on is like 1% of it. And the science is there too. There's a lot of things I could mention, but I'll mention mirror neurons. These are like the most miraculous kinds of like scientists have no idea how they work, but somehow we as humans have this like superpower innate within us. You'd think that if you took like two groups of people, and that one group of people, they like practiced 100 free throws, and that second group of people, they watched a professional perfectly shoot 100 free throws and rehearse it in their mind. You'd think the people that practice the free throws would have better outcomes than the people who practice no free throws. That's the obvious answer to that. But my setup probably hints to you that actually the reverse is true. Watching someone else shoot 100 perfect free throws and visualizing it in your mind, your first couple of free throws are off, but suddenly you get dialed in and you're able to perfectly reproduce what you saw and visualize in your mind. Your mind makes no distinction whatsoever between something that you vividly imagine and something that you experience. Like, we are social creatures that are just born to connect. Out of the box, we connect with other humans. And depression, if you're someone who's struggling with depression, is hearing this, depression is an inward facing emotion. It is impossible to be depressed when you're focused on the needs of other people. Like when I'm feeling down, I'm having a tough day with my family, a tough day with my job or my team that I lead, I instantly know that's because I'm focused on myself and the suffering that I'm going through. But when I think about the suffering of other people, the suffering that maybe I can help them with, those mirror neurons kick in, and my brain it kicks into a whole other gear of I have to serve these people, I have to love these people, I have to care about these people. And you are driven, you are capable of doing so much more for someone else than from yourself. If you're in a firefight, you can throw your buddy on your back and sprint out of fire with more courage and more physical strength than you could ever do to save yourself. This is the science of it, and the science it is in perfect agreement with what 99% of what most world religions prescribe.
And I love that. And I had Mr. David Meltzer on. If you guys ever watched the movie Jerry Maguire, that movie was written about him and Lee Steinberg. And he talked about how gratitude and anger cannot occupy the same spot. Yeah. So I think it's something what you're talking about, pretty much the same exact thing, to where, like my dad came over from Italy. He was right off the boat. And he would always tell me, the man with no feet, with no shoes, can't complain to the man with no feet. So, yeah. So,
absolutely.
So I totally get it. But first, because I want to dig deep into this, I want to thank our sponsors. As you guys know, I don't do anything for me. It's always about paying it forward. So for this Christmas season, we came out with a brand new coffee called Vertical Momentum Coffee. Twice the amount of caffeine, twice the amount of taste, no crash. Also, it's cold as hell in New Jersey. It's 28 degrees, and thank God my hoodie just came in today. Our Vertical Momentum hoodies are now available. And if you buy these, 100% of the proceeds will go to help veterans struggling with PTSD and homeless. I don't make $1 off of it. So if you like hoodies, if you like swag, if you like T-shirts, if you want my new book, we just hit #1, right down below, and I'll get that information to you. Because guys, we're all about making impact. That's my whole goal in the show, is to make impact. All right, so Nick, so talk to us. Okay, you graduate school, because a lot of us, you graduate school, you get a degree, and then we're like the pucker factor. We're like, oh crap, now what? So what were your steps coming out of college? What did you first start to do?
Yeah, so I put that computer science degree to work. I've always been kind of an entrepreneur at heart. I've had lots of businesses I've started over the years. Some more successful than others. So I got into the ground floor of a software development startup, and over the course of 9 years, we went from 13 million in venture capital to 100 million in private equity sales. So it was an extremely successful software development startup. And then after that, I had the privilege to do another software development startup for the Mayo Clinic, helping them build a software development insourcing group. Along the way, I certainly had what I would consider, like the worst moment of my professional life. And I think that, everyone, they experience professional setbacks and they really struggle with it. So right before that first startup sold for $100 million, I was terminated and my stock options seized. And for years afterwards, I had a big old chip on my shoulder about that. And I'm gonna succeed despite those people. I mean, it was a really devastating moment for me emotionally, financially. I certainly had, I relived the nightmare of that day that I lost everything. I couldn't sleep for about 6 months. I guess somewhere in the back of my mind, I thought that PTSD was like this made up thing or whatever, and then going through an experience like that was very much life changing. But at the end of the day, today I'm grateful for it. I'm truly grateful for it. It's a common thing. I think you will never mistake like a typical boring day for like the best day of your life. That's just not something that's going to happen. But I do think that it's common for people to mistake the best day of their life for their the worst day of their life. And one of my mentors is Tony Robbins. I don't know if you've done any of his stuff before, but he gets into a peak state and he'll say, what if I'm just saying this is a possibility. I'm not saying this is true, but what if the worst day of your life was actually the best day of your life? How would that change the way you feel day to day? How would that change your story? Do you like that story better? Do you like those feelings better? Because I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Only you get to decide what anything in your life means. You can't change the events, of course, but you can change what meaning you associate with them, what story you tell yourself and other people. And today, with absolute sincerity, I can say I'm so grateful that happened. It really kind of ripped me out of that pressure cooker tech world. I mean, I really held that identity too closely, and that's why it slipped through my fingers. And I did another tech startup after that for the Mayo Clinic, but it was really kind of like a nonprofit thing, so to speak. So I had a salary, but no ownership in the organization. That would have been another 9-figure company that I built, just in pure service. I do think my path was guided, and that's what God wanted for me. I had to really rebuild my identity after that happened. And how often in our life do we say, when someone says, who are you? You say, oh, here's my profession, or I'm a veteran, or it's very rare for people to truly sit down and decide, write down, think about it, pray about it. Who are you?
Yeah.
Like what is your life's mission, your life's work? What defines you? And I was given that opportunity through that pain, through that spiritual pain. I have spiritual gifts today, which is what ultimately led me to this path that I'm on today, with real estate investment. Because all along the way, I was kind of slowly building a real estate portfolio, an investment portfolio. I think if you go research on the internet, kind of what's the best thing to invest in, real estate investment is certainly the most consistent way to achieve wealth. Maybe not the fastest or sexiest or whatever. You could probably get a bigger, sexier return in crypto, but it's not as consistent, we'll say, as investing in real estate. So kind of building a small real estate portfolio on the side. And then when kind of I felt like everything was taken from me in tech, I looked back and I said, I have been so successful in this real estate thing, and without having to try so hard at it, it didn't define my identity. It was just kind of like this side thing that was very quietly, slowly, but very consistently, very, very successful in building wealth. And then that's what I do full time today. Is I own a real estate private equity fund. My wife and I do, and it doesn't define us. It's not our identity. It's really our vehicle for making an impact. 5% of the profit of our profit from the fund goes to charity. 5% of our profit from the fund goes to a profit share for our staff. And if I could wave a magic wand, my big crazy idea is if we could change capitalism in some small way, the way like Warren Buffett has changed capitalism with the Buffett pledge. You have to give your wealth away before you die. If we made it so every private equity fund or other big fund manager out there, they had to give away 5%. I think that could change the world. Give it away to anything, whatever has had the biggest impact in their life. I don't know, I've been talking for a little while, but hopefully that answers your question of going from graduating from college on this crazy story through technology and finally to real estate today, and to hopefully so much more than that.
Well, I want to hit on a couple of things, because a couple of the things you said really made me think. Like, for people that know me, if I go stand on my front porch right now, I can actually overlook where the Twin Towers once stood. And I knew people that were in the buildings that day. And if it wasn't for 9/11, it's totally wrecked my world, but it turned my world around. And it made me who I am today. So for some, it was their worst day. For me, like, if I look back on it now, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. So I totally understand what you're talking about. But also, I attempted suicide Memorial Day 2012, because that was when I got hurt on duty. I couldn't see anymore. So if you can't see, you can't shoot. We don't need you. And you're no longer Sergeant Kaufman. Well, if I'm not Sergeant Kaufman, who am I? Who is Richard? And I think I don't care what you do, whether you're a CEO, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a veteran, first responder, we all have a shelf life. And who are we when we hang up that suit? Who are we when we hang up the uniform? And for a lot of us, we don't know who we are besides that. I mean, for me, it's only taking me, somebody asked me, well, what do you do? It was always, well, I'm a retired disabled veteran. But only the last 6 months have I been able to say, I'm an author, I'm a public speaker, I'm a podcast host and producer.
Yes.
So, a lot of us, or the thing is, like we get so hung up in what we were that we can't turn the page.
Yes.
That's why I love watching people like, even people that are in tech, when they're in tech, but they also own the Dallas Mavericks. They can go out and do something else. They're not just stuck being an athlete or being this or that. They can be multifaceted. And I think that's what you're talking about, correct? Where sometimes you have to just spread out and do something totally different than you went to school for.
Absolutely. Yeah. And something, so as I said, I've kind of made a habit of seeking out mentors, people who are further along the journey in success in life than I am. And I certainly noticed a pattern that even people who don't have something traumatic happen to them, it's kind of sad. We call it a midlife crisis, and that's such a demeaning and needlessly callous phrase. But I find 99%, and it tends to be more men than women. Women have their own kind of trajectory, but when they have kids and stuff has a bigger impact on that. But in my experience, most men, the magic number I think is like right around 42 or 43. They just say, whatever I've done to get me here, it doesn't matter how successful or unsuccessful it is. Let's say you've had a very privileged life and you grew up in a nice middle class household, you went to college, you got a cushy office job, and you've been working that office job from 23 to 42. You look back and say, the next 20 years, is this really it? Is this, okay, I'm on a path, I'm in middle management, I've got a great income, I've got a great family, I have so much to be grateful for, and yet somehow I'm just empty. I'm not fulfilled by any of this. And it's the idea of doing 20 more years of this is just, I can't take it. And these guys, they run their life through the shredder, and then they get, reviled, mocked for it. But I think that there's just only so long you can commit to whatever that typical path is of, like, go to school, get a good job, retire, and pay off your mortgage and die. Like that's just not a compelling vision of the future for most people. It's not enough. And thank God we figure that out, halfway along the journey and not just before the end. So I talk to people all the time that's frequently a time that people start their own business or they get into real estate investing. I probably do 10 or 15 calls a week with people, just doing some free coaching, some free counseling, whatever you want to call it. And they're frequently in that age, and they feel like, gosh, I feel like a jerk, or I feel so ungrateful that I hate my life, that despite the fact that my life is so good. And they almost need to inflict pain if they haven't experienced that pain so far. It's like we have a need for it. And so I don't know, I'm very sincerely grateful that happened to me. When it happened to me, it was, I was in my early 30s. And so now I almost feel like I have a head start on that on that model. Now, let me be clear, I'm 40, so maybe in 2 or 3 years I might have a different story. We'll find out. But even amongst the people who haven't gone through an experience like you have, Richard, it's almost like men are compelled to create that kind of experience. So I think it's a necessary part of life to eventually, finally, hopefully, figure out who you are and what you're all about.
Yeah, it was one thing I did a post that I put out today. We got to stop being Al Bundy. We can't be Al Bundy and talk about scoring 4 touchdowns at the Polk High School football game. And we got to move on. And for me, that's, once I started to move on, I started saying, all right, I want to do this. My goal is to help 1 million people with my podcast, which I think we're on our way. But I had to find out what Tony Robbins is doing. I got to find out what Gary Vee, Ed Milet, what are they doing? And then I had to find a way for them to mentor me. And I think one thing, as a man, I definitely think mentorship is so, so important.
Yes.
Because I may not know what, $1 million actually looks like. But if I can just ring up and say, Tony, talk to me, brother, give me a little bit of piece of advice. It's nice that I should be able to talk to Tony or Gary or people like David Meltzer or Robert Kiyosaki to reach out to them and say, listen, I need help. I need mentorship. So talk about mentorship, because I think it's so I think more people would not commit suicide if we had mentors in our lives.
100%. So I suspect the people, this has been a pretty deep podcast so far. I love this. I'm going to go a level deeper, because I suspect the kind of people listening to this, they get it. So women, people with strong feminine energy, they tend to be kind of inherently coachable. And, oh, honey, you probably shouldn't wear that dress. And that's, you're going to take that feedback. Men, if you're really in tune with your warrior spirit, that every moment of your life, you are sizing up every other man you ever meet. And you're asking yourself, somewhere in your heart of hearts, can I rely upon this man? If the other tribe comes over that hill, or that lion jumps out of the jungle, can I depend on them? That's why we love to play games. That's why we love to play sports. We need to know the physical capabilities that the other men in our life have. Hey, this guy is really strong. Hey, this guy's really fast. This guy should probably be the guy doing the flanking. This guy should probably hold the line. Somewhere in our heart of hearts, that's what we're doing every moment of our life, is we are sizing up every other man that we're ever exposed to. And we can live in denial of that truth and say that's not a civilized thing to do, but that's what got us to where we are. And it's one of the most powerful forces in your spirit. It's one of the most powerful calls that you cannot help to answer. And when you surround yourself with other men that raise your standard, you cannot help but answer that call. When you have to play at a whole new level just to be on the same court as these people, like somewhere in your heart of hearts, it's going to say, no, this is not acceptable to me. I cannot be the weak link that threatens us all. And it makes us really uncomfortable. Our conscious mind says, I'm really intimidated by this person. They're playing life at a whole other level than me. They don't have time for me. But when men achieve a certain level of success, the only thing that really is fulfilling to them anymore is to try to pass that on, to try to share the secret, the habits, the mindset, whatever modern words you want to put on it, that got them to where they are, which makes all the sense in the world, right? Because it is useless to be the wealthiest guy in the tribe, right? Like you want everyone in your tribe to be playing at the same level as you. That's how you are protected from the tiger or the other tribe. That's how you ultimately have the most amount of success, most amount of security, most amount of happiness. And so don't be intimidated to surround yourself with the highest quality men you can possibly discover in your life. Reach out, ask. You will be blown away at the outpouring of you can call it coaching or whatever you want to call it. But I think that most men are kind of inherently not very coachable. Hey, I think you could try it this way. I'll show you. I'm going to double down on my way. And that's not how men learn. Men learn by example, by modeling. And the best thing you can do is to just surround yourself with these people. And in a moment, you'll pick up, wait a second. Every other guy here woke up and meditated before this event, except for me. I guess I better start, doing this thing. And you could maybe even feel, just hearing this, like that feeling, like the hair stands up on the back of your neck where you're the odd one out. And you suddenly realize everyone else has this pattern, this habit, this muscle memory, this reflex that you don't have. And those mirror neurons will kick in and will serve you in the most profound way. And your journey, your success is not a cost to the others in your tribe. It's the most fulfilling thing that could possibly happen. There's a member of my company right now, a very young man. He dropped out of college to come work for us when he was 18 years old, and he's actually leaving our company here in a couple of weeks. And you'd think this would be like a tearful moment or something. We really invested in this guy, and now he's leaving. He doesn't even know what he's going to do. He's going to go do something totally different, and I couldn't be happier. I couldn't be happier. Like this is the ultimate fulfillment of that warrior spirit, of whatever that thing is that I just described. And if you can learn to harness that power, you can truly achieve anything. You can grow. You can't do anything on your own. Like you can only do it with other people. And that muscle of surrounding yourself with people that are capable of doing anything, just by osmosis, you will be capable of those things in short order.
And that's something that I love, and I love what you're talking about. and I love the subject, by the way. My friend Tim S. Grover, wrote a book called Relentless, and because he actually coached Michael Jordan, he actually coached
Hmm.
Kobe, and he would say Kobe and Michael would battle it out on the court, and at 3 a.m. Kobe would be calling Michael, all right, you scored 30 on me today. How'd you do it? What did you do? Why did you do it? Where when Jordan would actually, it was funny. I've never heard this until he said the story that Jordan would actually go to the visitors' locker room and walk through just to show that he was the alpha male. But now here's Kobe, just got done battling with him for 40 minutes. He's asking me, well, how'd you do it? And I think that's the power of mentorship when you have somebody as great as a Kobe, a 5-time champion, talking to Michael after they just got done battling. Instead of him saying, well, okay, he scored 30 on me, I'll show him next time. He wanted to know why you scored 30 on me. So I think a lot of us, for guys, for me, I was always that macho guy that, I want to beat that guy. But now I think as I get older, I'm like, I want to learn more from that guy. You know what I mean? So I
Yes.
think sometimes as you become more successful, I think you become more teachable and more pliable. And I think, and something I know you're going to know about this, and I want you to talk about it, is a lot of people don't know how to use their RAS, their reticular activating system. So I know you know about this. So I want you to talk about that, that your mind is like your Facebook feed. What you feed is what you're going to see, what you're going to find. So talk to us about that.
Yeah. So again, this is another area where, kind of faith and science, they're in perfect agreement here. So you can use whatever tools you want to use to train your reticular activation system, which is just the part of your brain that does pattern recognition. So just as a quick primer, in case people are unfamiliar with RAS, like in this moment, just feel things. Feel the feeling of your clothes up against your skin. Like I can feel kind of there's a different fabric on my thighs than there is on my arms. Feel the blood pumping through your body right now. Maybe you can feel it in your chest or in your head, but you can't feel it elsewhere. Feel if you're sitting down, the feeling of gravity pulling you against your chair. If you're standing up, the feeling of gravity pulling you against the ground. And just me framing it that way, you're probably feeling your feet or feeling your butt differently than you would if you just imagined yourself sitting or standing. I didn't tell you to think that way. Your reticular activation system, it filters out the whole world. It filters out 99.9% of all the things that you perceive, because you'd go crazy if you could just feel your clothing up against your skin all the time or feel the force of gravity. And most people go through life not realizing that you can train your RDS. So the common anecdote there is you buy a new car or you buy a new outfit or shirt or something like that, and all of a sudden you see that car everywhere, or you see that shirt everywhere. Hey, yeah, I'm buddies with these 3 guys, and we apparently all had the same shirt, just by coincidence. And you never noticed that the other guys had that same shirt until you had that same shirt. You've trained your RAS to look at it. It is very easy to look for negative things. In fact, our brain by default is wired to look for negative things. It's designed to keep us alive. It's not designed to make us feel fulfilled or happy or any of those great feelings. It's designed to watch out, hey, there might be a tiger out there. And the media knows this. They know that the fear of the risk of loss is 1,000 times greater motivator than the desire for gain. We live in our life a dance between what we fear most and desire most, and most people, it's really sad, but they live most of their life just barely trying to hang on to what they have, and they want just a little bit more, but they don't want to reach for it. They don't want to push too hard for fear that they could lose everything. Thoreau says most men live lives of quiet desperation. It's so true. It's so sad. But there's a whole other world out there. And maybe you know someone in your life where it just seems like they're always in a good mood. And it's not like that's an accident. So, if we had more time, I could do like a little guided meditation with you or something like that. But in this moment, I want you to just think of one thing, just one thing that you're so grateful for. something that excites you, something that invigorates you? What's the moment of greatest victory that you've recently experienced? What's something that lights you up, that makes you say, yes, I can do it, anything. I can, people love me. And in that moment, I felt so loved. In that moment, I felt so connected. It could be a sexy thing, could be a moment of pure material success. You
Well,
bought a
for
new
me,
car.
and for me, this just happened before I got on with you. I just ranked above Gary V on the charts. Yeah,
Hell
I
yeah.
was
Nothing wrong
98.
with that.
He was number 97. So that's and he's a friend of mine, and that's one of my mentors. So it's nice to be able to outrank somebody that. So that's what happened to me today. So
Hell yeah. And we live in a culture where it's almost not allowed to celebrate, right? Like you need to be sensitive to people who don't have as much. No. If you're doing it the right way and you're celebrating, it lifts them up. So in this moment, in this state, in this feeling, in this chemical cocktail running through your veins, it is so much easier for you to think about positive things. You've now taught your reticular activation system that we're in celebration mode right now. And if I asked you to think of another thing you were excited about, and another thing, in fact, you might have, for extra credit, you might have thought of 2 or 3 or 4 things that you were successful or feeling victorious about. And that first one, it can be kind of hard, because maybe you just got some bad news, you're coping with a problem, you feel you're in stress, and okay, I know I'm surrounded by good things, but what? Oh yeah, that one thing. Oh, and another thing, another thing, and another thing. That's your reticular activation system. You've taught your brain to change gears. We're going to go from reverse to forward. We're going to go from fear to abundance, to victory, to success, to sexy, to whatever it is. Your emotional state is a frame, is a filter on the universe, and you go look for those things. And everyone on this call, you know how to do this. You maybe don't realize you know how to do it, but let's say you're a paratrooper and you need to jump out of an airplane. Like, that's not an easy thing to do. You do some things. You have a little ritual that you go through before you do that, where you say, heck yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to jump out like the first. Like, you might actually pound your fist on your hand. You might clench your fists. You might like tense every muscle in your body. You've trained your body to put yourself into this state of absolute certainty to go jump out of an airplane. Maybe it's something less exciting than that. Maybe you're a salesperson and you need to make a sales call. I promise you, you may not be consciously aware of it, but you are priming your reticular activation for success. If you're a good salesperson and you have a little ritual that you do before you dial the phone, a little thing that you do, and once you become aware of this, you can train it. So I every single day I have a ritual. I do a guided meditation. I just spend 60 seconds and just think about some of the best moments I have in leadership, or the best moments that I have of victory in my business. If I'm about to step into a meeting, I had a really tough meeting recently. I had to terminate an employee that I really cared a lot about, but there was a situation that happened, and as leaders, when something like this happens, like, that person has to go, and they have to go right now, and there's no ambiguity about that. And so before I walked in, I pound my fists on my chest. I love this guy. I care about this guy. I want to serve this guy. I'm going to come in with absolute certainty, so he knows that this is the end, and he understands why. He knows this is coming. But if I don't come at him with absolute certainty, I'm going to be failing to serve him. And 90 seconds later, I walked in and it was done. And that's it. And we're still friends to this day. And he knew that it had to happen, and I knew that it had to happen. And if I didn't have that training, I learned all this from my coaches, from people like Tony Robbins. By the way, I didn't make this stuff up. You can train your reticular activation system to do very, very, very interesting things, and you can learn to hook into the mirror neurons of people that you work with. We recently closed on a very, very large real estate deal, tens of millions of dollars. It takes 6 months for one of these deals to come through. And I get together with my team with absolute certainty and said, here's how it's going to happen. Here's how we're going to close. Here's what the timeline's going to look like. We weren't under contract. We were in negotiations at best. And let's reach out to the lender. Let's reach out to the title company. Let's stay in touch with the seller about our closing date. And at some point, I know there was a conversation that the seller had with their team where they got together and they're like, are we selling this building to Nick's firm? Because, like, all their people are calling us and getting ready for closing and stuff. We're not actually under contract, are we? I mean, I know we're talking to them, but, like, well, mean, should we be under contract? Like, this isn't a trick. And in fact, if you don't have complete authenticity when you do this, it will be, a grievous misstep. But all you need to do is say, we're going to look for success. we're going to be able to recognize success instantly when success comes to us. All we have to do is just stay in the game, and luck will come to us, or God's guidance, or whatever you believe. And we bring absolute certainty to everyone in our life. And if we can close on this deal, it's difficult to describe just how hard it was to get this deal closed. We had to get 20 different people in complete agreement on a million different terms, and my team had to be on the same page with their team, with the lender and the title company and a million different attorneys. And as a leader, really that's all I can do is train my reticular activation system for absolute success and nothing else, and then project that certainty to everyone around me. And your mirror neurons, they are seeking to mirror the RAS of everyone around you, right? Because like if you're suddenly on the savannah, you may not necessarily know what predators are on the savannah. So without you realizing it, you are mirroring the things that other people that you spend time with are looking for. And when you project absolute certainty that we are looking for success and nothing else, guess what? Success just manifests itself. And it's not some kind of woo-woo trick. Like, I think this hopefully makes intuitive sense to everyone here, that when you prime this part of your brain that filters out reality to just look for success, it is inevitable that success will be found. That's just how the mind works.
Okay, now, like I said, this is also a business podcast, but I'm actually really enjoying this conversation. So Absolutely. I just want to say thank you so much. But now, a lot of people they get into business for the short game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm into business for the long game. For me, my ultimate guest is going to be Mr. Ed Milet. So I'm always tagging him, and I'm always, messaging him back and forth, because I know eventually he's going to come on the show. But
That's right.
I'm thinking, okay, if he sees my name enough, he sees that I'm always pushing him up, always, providing value, that one day he'll come on the show. And I think if people think more like that in business, to always, for me, like I told you earlier, you're going to come on the show, and then when it gets pushed out, you're going to get tired of getting pinged everywhere, because I'm going to be, I'm the kind of guy that always wants to under-promise but over-deliver, because I want to build healthy long-term relationships. So talk about, because I'm sure being in a real estate game, no matter what, even if it's any business you're in, like I was in the fitness industry for over 30 years, it's a big industry, but it's a very small industry.
Yes.
And, so it's all about relationships.
Yes.
So talk about building real relationships in business, and how important relationships are in, having relational capital.
Absolutely. And just to reflect on Ed coming on your show, if I knew nothing about you, Richard, other than what you just said, I would have absolute certainty that Ed's going to be on your show. In fact, I would push you, if I was your coach, I would push you to say, you need to have even more certainty, clarity, and specificity. Like, sit down. Okay, so what's the best day for Ed to come on my show? I looked at Ed's calendar, and he's got this event going on here. Oh, he has this book coming out. So I know I could bring him a lot of value if he came on my show on one of these 3 dates. And, you don't want to live in some alternate reality that you can like go off the deep end, so to speak. But instead of saying, hey, do you want to come on my show? Say, hey, I spent a lot of time working on this. I looked at your calendar. I saw you have a book coming out. So I know you get maximum exposure if you came here. Here's my release schedule. Please let me know which one of these 3 dates would be best for you. And it might just happen. Like just having even more certainty. And any successful entrepreneur can hear what you just said of, yeah, I know Ed's coming on my show. And just the certainty that you have in your body, in your voice, that you have prepared yourself for success. That's how every aspect of business works. So I love that so much. I couldn't help but call that out.
He just put out a book. He just put out a brand new book. I think it was about talking about doing one more rep. So I actually bought the book, took pictures of it, and pushed it out on all my social media with links to buy it. And I don't get anything out of the deal, but I'm just helping him because he's mentored me. So I'm, and I do that once a week for all the people that have helped me in my life. That's something I just do every week, just to do that, to show appreciation. And believe it or not, people, if they see your name enough, they're going to wonder who the hell this person is, right?
That's right. And that's a perfect, kind of bookend to your question about relationship. I think that people, as you said, they're often playing the short game or asking, what's in it for me. If you just find a way to provide as much value as possible to as many people as possible, it is impossible for that value not to come back to you. I've got a link on my calendar. If you go to meetblackswan.com, you can just block time on my calendar, go block 15, 30 minutes. And I do just like free one-time coaching calls with anyone who wants to chat. And I don't have anything to sell or to achieve on those calls. I've had a certain measure of success in my life, and I just love helping other people and passing that on. And those are like the most enjoyable moments of my week is those calls. And then every now and then someone will book a time and they're like, hey, yeah, I need to, my uncle's got a couple $1 million kicking around that he really needs to invest in. And I saw you have this private equity fund. Can we invest in that? Like that value just comes back to you. Similar to you talking about, promoting Ed's book and stuff. So we're helping one of our mentors, the person probably who's single most responsible for us having a private equity fund. We're helping him raise money for his private equity fund right now, which is common in the industry for fund managers to kind of help each other out and have kind of diversified offerings for their clients. But in this case, like when he helped me start his private equity fund, or I'm sorry, when he helped me start my private equity fund, like he didn't ask for anything in return. Usually you ask for like a percentage or some fees or whatever. And this is a person so successful, so wealthy that I don't understand why he picks up the phone when I call. And that's okay. Like that's a good problem to have. And I'll just be like, hey, we ran into this problem. We've got this problem with this attorney thing, like, or this accountant thing. Like, do you have someone that I could call, or do you have any? Oh yeah, I ran into that problem when I was 20 years ago. So yeah, here's what I did. You could try something similar. Like costs him 30 seconds of his time, shaves years off of my time to move up that success ladder. And now I'm raising money for him. And and again, typically you like charge a percentage and you charge fees and stuff to raise money for other people. And I'm spending 100 hours of my time and bringing my investors to his network and stuff, bringing him just millions and millions of dollars of value. But I can't help but do it, right? Like he stuck his neck out, so to speak, with hours of his time. I can't help but reciprocate that with hundreds of hours of my time, with millions of dollars of value. I want him thinking, who is this Nick guy? Like, why is he doing so much for me? And this is someone who's a little further down the path than I am. So like we're about to close a $30 million private equity fund, which is like a big number. But we're helping him with a $200 million private equity fund that's it's literally 10 times bigger than mine, and he's going to have a $500 million fund that's launching just by me getting the chance to ride shotgun with someone who's playing the game at a level 10 times higher than me. That's going to shave years off of my time to get there. Just like I was talking about getting onto the court with people who are playing at a level where you have to step your game up just to set foot on the court. Like just compelling yourself to move forward, to move up. We're in a meeting together, and I realize I'm the only guy that insert what it is, that I'm the only guy that doesn't have an attorney on retainer. And well, shoot, I better get an attorney on retainer. I don't fit in the $500 million room without this. But that's an extreme example. If you're just thinking about getting investing in real estate for the first time, just go hang out with other people who already own real estate, and you're going to find out, oh, they have a loan officer or several that they work with. They've got real estate agents that they work with. They've got title companies that they work with. I don't have any of those things. I've got to get those things. Wait a second. Everyone in this room already has those things. Can I get referrals from them? These are people who probably already know what they're doing, who can help me, shave years off that journey. And, implicit in this, of course, is the assumption that you are on a journey of years, that it's going to take you 10 years to get there, or whatever the time frame is. But I promise you, if you just invest in other people, if you just put crazy, ridiculous value into those relationships, that value is going to find its way back to you in ways that you couldn't even possibly imagine. All the best opportunities that happen to me on a day-to-day basis, just my phone rings. And I pick up the phone and someone says, hey, I need to sell this property. And, we have 5 apartment buildings that we've purchased here just in the last couple of months. Every single one of those opportunities, every single one happened because someone just gave me a call, because I have taught the universe to give me a call when it wants value, when opportunity knocks. And so I get the call when there's an opportunity to buy an apartment building, because that's the line of business that I'm in, or when someone wants to invest a bunch of money, because that's the other kind of piece of the business that I'm in, is I raise money and then use it to buy apartment buildings. Whatever your business is, going out and doing cold calls to try to like drum up sales, it's the worst. I have never made a cold call in my life. I go on podcasts, I do teaching and speaking, I share my story, I just offer other people value as often as I can. And then whatever value comes back to me is what was meant to be. Like if I was running a lemonade stand, the worst thing I could possibly do is just go set up a stand on the side of the road. I would first sit and think, well, who needs lemonade, and who would get a crazy amount of value from a lemonade stand being present? Well, I always see these beer gardens everywhere, and there's never any good non-alcoholic options for them. I should call every beer garden in my area and say, hey, do you have like a mocktail stand, or whatever, something for people who can't drink alcohol? Shoot, I could call AA. They probably have great opportunities for non-alcoholic beverages. Like how can I offer other people value? And some way, like maybe the beer garden place says, oh no, we've already got a vendor. Oh, who's that vendor? Let me talk to that vendor. So maybe there's some way I can help them out. Oh yeah, they're at the beer garden here, but they can't cover over here. I didn't even know that place over there existed. Like just crazy opportunities find your way when you just start by trying to offer other people value. It's how the universe works. You have to do it for a little while. You just have to try it for a month, and it's cumulative. Like all the most successful people that I have ever met in my entire life, I think there's a myth that people are greedy or succeed by keeping other people down. Heck no. All the most successful people that I know in my personal life, they lift other people up. Do you think Oprah became the king of her kingdom by taking things from other people? She offers insane value to everyone that I've ever met that's done business with her or touched her life. And so everyone is excited to bring Oprah value. This is just how the universe works.
All right, so how do we find you? How do we support your mission? I know you're big on LinkedIn and all these other places. So how do we find you, and how do we, if we want to book a call with you, how do we do that?
Yeah. Anyone that's hearing this, you can just go to meetblackswan.com, meetblackswan.com, and we'll just have a few links there. There will be a link to my personal calendar. If you want to go block 15 or 30 minutes on my calendar, anyone here is welcome to do so. We have a course all about real estate investment. There's some mindset stuff, and then tons of brass tack stuff. 100% of that revenue goes to charity. This past year, this is the coolest thing I've ever done with my life. We built a school. That was just a crazy, insane goal that I wrote down a few years ago. Is I wanted to build a school. I had no idea what that meant. I've got several small children. I've got a 7, 5, 2, and newborn at home. And I just wanted to build a school for them. We found an abandoned 40,000 square foot office building, and over the summer got teachers and parents together to repaint and rip up carpet, and the kiddos just moved in here a few months ago. So that was a mission that our foundation, our charitable arm supported. And 5% of our private equity fund goes to support those charitable causes as well. There's a homeless shelter. We're upgrading them from kind of like a residential kitchen to a commercial kitchen right now. Lots of fun stuff. So there's if you decide to do our course, it's a pay what you can model. Typically these real estate courses cost thousands of dollars, and whatever you're able to pay is that sounds good to me. And then we do free monthly live Q&A calls. So if you need coaching to go through your journey, we jump on the phone, and if there's a ton of people on there and it goes for 3 hours before I can get to every single question, it goes for 3 hours. Just whatever we can do to offer value to people. And then ultimately, we're always raising capital. We, people invest in our private equity fund. We buy apartment buildings and, renovate them and make them more valuable, and generate, incredible wealth, extraordinarily high returns, many times greater than what you can typically get in the stock market or other similar investment vehicles. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, then we've got links to our private equity fund. When this podcast goes live, I don't know if we're going to have any opportunities open at that time. We've got two different opportunities open at this time, but one's closing at the end of this week, and the other one's closing at the end of next week. But we always, we'll have more opportunities in the future. But we just love, serving people to create generational wealth, to help, move your family tree, so to speak, as Dave Ramsey might say. We jokingly call the course our cookbook. So if you want to see how we do everything that we do and just do it yourself, that it's all there. The exact light fixture we use to renovate with, how we get loans, how we decide what properties to buy. If you read the cookbook and you're like, hey, this looks really good, but I just want to go to the restaurant, well, that's our private equity fund. And again, we're implementing everything in that cookbook, and you just show up and the food's ready to go for you. So those are some of the ways that people can connect with us, different ways that we can offer people value. You just go to meetblackswan.com.
I love it, Nick. Thank you so much, brother. I know we were playing phone tag for a little while, but I'm so grateful and humbled that we finally got able to chat. And guys, as you know, my tagline is "Today I Decide." Like my friend Joel Osteen always talks about, you can decide everything you make, you're up to your decision. You can be a victor or to be a victim. I choose to be a victor. So guys, make sure if you guys want to decide to change your mindset as well as change your finances, check out Nick and what he's got going on, because I'm so grateful that he's in my inner circle now. And I'm truly humbled to be able to call him friend. Nick, thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, Richard. This is one of my favorite podcasts I've ever done. This has been a blast, man.
I love it. Guys, I love you guys. Just remember, vertical momentum, the only way to go is but up. I love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. Nick, have an amazing Monday.
Thank you. You too, Richard.
God bless.